dive into this galactic deck builder, a deck builder that's been around for a while.
Yeah, for quite some time.
With piles and piles of expansions. It's actually one of your favorite games.
One of my absolute favorite games. Probably one of my favorite deck builders of all time for sure.
Yeah.
It was the first deck builder I ever really got into.
So, we're going to be doing a preview. That's what this is. This game is coming to Kickstarter. You can, I believe, back it now. This is a legacy edition of this deck builder game. And in case you're skeptical, we just got done playing through all 4 prototype missions that we had on hand.
Yep.
For a full gameplay here on the channel. And that video, this is a sponsored preview video. We do these here at Quackalope.
Yep.
The gameplay video was just out of pure love and enjoyment, and it was such a blast.
Jesse told me he had Star Realms Legacy, and I said, well, we're definitely playing that, right? Because it's one of my favorite games. And he was like, well, yeah, of course.
But we'll get away from that. I think if you're already a Star Realms fan, just knowing that we have had fun with it is a good first indicator.
Yep.
For those of you that are here for the preview content, though, to learn everything you need to know about what Star Realms is and how this plays differently and integrates back into the core, that's this video. Thank you for being here. Check out the gameplay to get a greater sense of all these details. And with that, West, what is Star Realms? Let's talk by first describing the core game.
Sure. So in the core game, there are multiple different factions. You have the Trade Federation, the Star Empire. There's a couple of different alien factions as well. And you're all vying for control of the galaxy, so to speak.
Yep.
And you go out into the different options. Basically, what you're looking for is to purchase cards from the trade row, and you're looking to either do damage to someone or use things for shields for yourself.
Yep.
And the first person to 50 usually loses.
It's a classic deck builder in that sense. You're going to start with a hand of cards that generate 2 things, a little bit of damage and some coins. You'll have a public market here that you're buying and sometimes hate drafting cards from into your hand, escalating until you get to a point where someone reaches a final crescendo. Usually plays in about 20 to 35 minutes, and it is incredibly satisfying for a deck building system with, again, a ton of modules and a ton of expansions. This is the first time I've seen this game or a game like this dive into the world of Legacy in a card-specific way, which is neat. How are we doing Legacy here in Star Realms?
So the interesting thing here, in a traditional game of Star Realms, when you purchase something from the trade row, you don't generally get a value from that. Here you actually will, because there'll be a snippet on the bottom that says either draw a card, or you could scrap a card, or you do extra damage to the opponent, which is pretty cool. But the reason for that is because when you take that card, you have the opportunity to actually add a sticker to the bottom of that card for an extra value of trade money.
It builds into your strategy. You have to not only budget for the cards that you want, but also budget for the cards that you want to upgrade, knowing that not only will it take a little bit for that upgrade to come back into the cycle, but also you're losing out in future games on the immediate bonus that card provides, and you're creating a new deck where your opponent can or cannot decide to invest in certain properties and principles. It's incredibly compelling. So the core structure of this is the classic game of Star Realms.
Yep.
You're going to be playing through a row of cards, building up your hand, but the thing that makes it unique is at the top of every scenario, you're going to have a little commentary card. And this has win and loss conditions based off of what the last campaign was built off of. So whoever wins will have an impact on the story going forward, and will be able to set or decide certain rules that set the parameters of the game you're playing. Then you'll start the game, like you said, buying from the main row and deciding if you want to upgrade either your ship or the planet side bases.
Base. Yep.
Your bases are going to be a base cost of 3, your ships are going to be a base cost of 2, and the upgrades are restricted based off of how much each card cost. So some cards, like the 8 cost cards, cost 10 in total to both buy and upgrade, and they're rare. They don't come out too often. Well, as the other cards, like the 1s and 2s, you might hold on to it for a little while, because getting it on the right card is more important than getting it on any card out there in the market.
This could be true.
Now, the neat thing with this is as you start upgrading, there's actually 2 paths towards victory.
There are. So you could either do a focus on damage pathway, where you're trying to punch the other person in the face and get that 50 points of damage.
We've seen some of those happen.
Or you could use diplomacy. And if you're the first person to upgrade 5 of your cards in that particular round using the upgrade stickers for that particular round, You win by diplomacy.
Yeah, it's cool.
It is cool.
It's very cool. So, while I'm doing a preview, on the back of spending 3 hours playing through everything we have here, I feel like I'm almost too excited and too favorable for this thing.
Yeah.
So to counter the people that are like, hey, this is a sponsored preview video, you're not allowed to be excited about the things that you cover. And just for the record, here at Quackalope, our goal is to be excited about everything we cover.
Yes.
While still being thorough and critical and honest.
Very true.
Where are the things that might not work for people here?
So one of the things that might not work for someone is if you're not interested in that idea of putting stickers on things and permanently changing cards, that could potentially be something that you're not interested in. However, they've actually thought about that, and there's a whole nother deck that actually allows you to play the game over and over and over again, because you could actually take your stickered cards, set them on the side. If you pull something off the ramp using these, you would then grab that card as your upgraded card and still have the ability to do diplomacy. You just have to mark it off on a sheet to the side.
They have backups for everything. Card and every variable you might have in upgrading card pathways. It's an interesting approach to making sure the game lives forever.
The other thing that you may not like is luck. I mean, this is a deck building game.
Sure.
Your card may not come up. The row may have really high value cards and you're just not turning things over fast enough. You may not be able to scrap things as quickly as before. There are lots of ways that luck does play into this. So if luck's not your thing, it may not be a game for you.
And then in addition to that, I'd say when it comes to the deck building world, this is not the most complex of systems. No. It's a very satisfying, easy to play, and quick playing deck building game, but until you start incorporating some of the other expanded universe that they have, this game still, and even then, remains pretty accessible and pretty simple. If you're looking for a deck building game that's going to blow your socks off with its core strategy, that's not really this. It's a balance of buy into the market, pay attention to where your resources are, draw up amazing hands, and watch as the game unfolds. It still feels like you have a ton of agency and a ton of choice in your victory or loss, but it might not be a thing where you're counting every single penny as closely as other deck building games.
Very true.
That being said, what are we hoping to see on the Kickstarter? Because I don't know anything beyond what we have here.
More scenarios. I want more scenarios.
Sure.
I would also like to see potentially adding a couple of cards in each round or something. I think when you were mentioning that in the past, I think that would actually be really cool.
It's interesting, though, because for what we have right now, it does feel like we have new cards because we've spent time upgrading each one.
It does.
After the first game, I was like, oh, I was hoping there'd be new cards. And then after a series of games, with the 4 that we had in the prototype, I was kind of okay with what we had in the market because it felt new and it kept feeling like it was being refreshed.
I would like to see some of these events that we were doing have more cause and action. So, like, you got the chance the last one to decide something that made a difference,
which was cool.
It was very cool.
And knowing that there's going to be more scenarios going in the future, I'd have to think the first 1 to 3 of these are more like get your feet warm, get up and running, and then we start getting to the crunchy, like make a decision that'll impact the rest of the game.
Yeah,
and that was fun. That decision felt good. We'll just say that in the most visceral of ways. Anything else we need to go over when it comes to Star Realms and the extended universe? What are the other
Well, this is a prequel.
Yeah.
So that's one of the cool things. Like none of the other than the Star Empire and the Trade Realm. You don't really need to know
anything about Star Realms to dive into this universe.
And you don't have to have the original base game either, which is another really nice thing.
Honestly, this is probably a great starting zone because in my mind, you play through this with a companion. This is a game that you play as a couple.
Yep.
You and me.
Right.
Best couple.
This
is a game that you play with a friend. You dive in, you spend a week, you bully your way through it, and then you end with a cool little scenario pack and a set of upgraded cards that you probably pull from the main deck so they don't have any stickers on them.
Right.
And then you go and you get the other stuff. You start extending into the extra world, and you have this background and this narrative setting the framework for everything else you play.
Yeah.
It just sort of encompasses and informs stuff.
Great way to start.
Yeah. Now, the core thing, this game is actually composed of 3 core factions. So we have the Kingdom ships, we have the Scavenger ships, and we have the Unaligned ships, I think. No, that's not right. That's not right. Where is it? Scavenger ship, and the Consortium ships. And so those are going to be the 3 factions that you learn about and you play through here. The Kingdom's going to have people like the Prince that are coming out to war. The Reapers are going to be kind of ragtag, scavenging type based things. They're going to be like coming from the mining stations around the planet. We had a lot of diggers.
We had a lot of hunters.
Like, it was really funny. Our first game, the whole action row was just full of diggers. And I'm like, thematically, we just started some mining-based squabble.
It's like you kicked an anthill.
And all of the diggers are just going to start the war before anyone else is involved. And then, like, the third round is where we saw the king come out. And we're like, oh, Ish is getting back to the throne room.
And there was, like, a knight as well. I mean, it was great.
And then the Consortium feels like more the technology, right? They're the science. They're the research, the people that led to existence here. And they were all fun to pair up and play and all had kind of their own unique way that they integrated with the game state.
But you're not going to find like the machine cults. You're not going to find the bogs or any of those kinds of things. Those aren't here yet. The aliens haven't invaded.
We haven't come in contact with them yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is a much more interesting way to look at that particular world, and everything feels different while still having some of those familiar characters.
There's also some interesting decisions you have to make. On this upgrade sheet, I can either choose to upgrade my ships or to upgrade a base card. Now, a base card is more expensive to upgrade, but gives you longer, big, more permanent abilities, which you kind of learned.
I did.
I upgraded a lot of ships.
You did.
And that was a powerful, quick-playing strategy, but didn't always pay off in the end.
True.
That balance is, I find, very interesting, because if I went for some of these early upgrades on bases, I would have been more incentivized to actually utilize them. Like, look at your sheet compared to mine.
Exactly. And if you look at his original sheet, almost all of them are that way.
It just shows kind of the core play strategy. It shows like the way we started and approached the game. You went heavy on a lot of bases, whereas my ships are souped up beyond compare.
Which hurts a lot if you're not prepared for it.
But bases give you defense.
Yeah, it's kind of, he pushed me that way, I pushed him that way, so it ended up working out.
Yeah. So that's a preview video. That's a showcase. I'm like, I feel like I have to apologize for being so excited.
I mean, but do you have to apologize when a game is really good?
I don't
and it's
know.
Fun?
I don't know.
It's fun. This is a fun game.
Yeah, but some people are really grumpy.
They are grumpy. I understand, but it's fun. It really is fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Wise Wizard Games, just a message for you all, if you're getting to this point. So West and I have invested personally in the first 4 missions. I would love to not have to... I mean, we don't have to show... We won't share it with anyone. I would love to not have to wait for...
We need to see the end. We need to see the end. You've got to send it to us so we can see the end.
I'm going to be honest.
This is like worse than a cliffhanger that waits for an entire season.
Yeah.
That's rough, man. That's rough. Just saying. It's really rough.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Hopefully you've had fun. Again... Just a reminder, because I do feel like with the level of excitement we have, and your excitement going into this,
I know
I love Star Wars. I do feel like I need to remind you all we have 4 full gameplay sessions that you can go check out. You can take the time to make sure whether or not this is a game that you will get to the table and a game that you will enjoy. Don't just buy based off of hype. Buy things that you're going to love, and I think there's a big group of people out there that are going to absolutely
love this game.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Whatever the case, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Get out and play some games.
Go out and play some games.
Bye.